I love the imagery of the pottery being put back together again with gold. Because when you think about the process of how gold is made and the fire and the refining in our lives, that has certainly been the case. I was first introduced to New Life about 21 years ago, the summer after my senior year of high school. I was pregnant and had no intentions to place for adoption, but really just needed help. And I was lost and confused and needed someone to help guide me through that time. So, when I found out I was pregnant, I was very lost. 21 years ago, an unplanned pregnancy at 18 was still a very taboo thing. And so trying to navigate that, even in the church, was a lonely process. At the very end of my pregnancy, I think just the reality of my inability to meet all of his needs, not just his physical needs, confronted me. I wasn't able to give him the family that he deserved to have. And so ultimately decided to make an adoption plan for him. When he was born, I wanted every moment with him in the hospital. I knew that might be the only 48 hours of his life I ever had with him, and I wanted every second of it. Just really precious time. And then we met as two families together, and I was able to share some gifts that I had for him, and then placed him in the arms of his mom. And at some point, I had to go. I just couldn't physically be in that building for one more second. And so I kissed him and I walked away. And there are no words to describe the emptiness that I felt and that birth moms feel as they walk out that door and leave their child behind. It's very painful.
Well, it was early on. We'd only been on a couple of dates. I don't even remember exactly what we were talking about, but she said, "Hey, I need to tell you something." And so she proceeded to tell me that she was a birth mom and that she had placed her son for adoption at that point, about 6 years previous. It didn't change my view of her in a negative light in any way. I mean, it was something that I think immediately kind of bonded our relationship faster than maybe I even expected it to.
It was super important for me that he know early on because it's such a big part of who I am.
And that was probably maybe the thing that I didn't know about birth moms that I learned very quickly is she's a birth mom every day of her life. She still grieves and feels loss every day from 22 years ago. And, it is something that is ongoing, something that they're working through every day. We ended up getting married. We're married for a couple of years, and we decided we were ready to start a family. And then we found out that we weren't going to be able to have kids. Adoption was not something that we were really considering. We had tried every way we could to get what we wanted, and it didn't happen. And so it was really just about sitting back and waiting and listening to God and figuring out, okay, what are you doing with this? Like, where are we going?
So it was during that time of waiting that we were introduced to a young girl who asked us to adopt her baby. And I knew that I wanted her to have the same support that I had had. So it was with great anxiety, but we took her back to New Life, which is a building that had held so many painful memories for me. But God had a plan that was so much greater than we could have ever anticipated. So for 26 weeks, we prepared for a baby girl, and we had baby showers, and we had named her, and we had a beautiful nursery and a closet full of pink and a bunch of bows and tutus. And we got the phone call that at 38 weeks, she decided she just couldn't do it, and she was choosing to parent.
Well, when we had the failed placement, we were frustrated. like we said, that, I felt like the Lord had absolutely drug us there. It wasn't what we wanted. We went to church that next Sunday.
We didn't have the words or the strength to pray. And at one point we looked up, and our entire church family that was there had come, and there was a line to pray for us. It just reminded us that we had not been forgotten, and that the Lord, even when we didn't have the strength to pray, was providing people to pray for us, and that He would continue to do so every step of the process. When we didn't have what we needed, He was there to provide and had not left us.
Within the next 3 weeks, a month, we were bringing a little boy home, and
we got rid of the pink too.
Yeah, we changed the pink to blue and brought our oldest son home, and world has not been the same since. Being a dad is both the greatest and the hardest thing in the world. I never expected to be how difficult being a dad would be, but I can't imagine our family being created any other way. I can't imagine our boys not being our boys. I have loved how New Life continues to support my wife 20 years after her placement. Things that she's still working through, questions that she has. New Life is still there for her.
And I feel like New Life is so different than many agencies because it's not just about finding the children a godly home where they're going to flourish. It's also about meeting their needs, both physically, spiritually, emotionally, and having the opportunity to share the gospel with them. And that's so important. When I look back now, there's been a lot of brokenness, there's been a lot of hurt. But when I look at the picture now, when I look at the piece now, and I see it woven together so intricately, how He has molded and shaped and fit each piece of loss and pain and joy and all of the good things, He's mended that together. I truly believe I see that vase as so much more beautiful than anything I could have ever imagined.
All of those broken pieces being put back together in our family. I have an amazing wife and 2 beautiful boys that are greater gifts than anything I could have ever wished for myself.
My boys are greater than anything I could have ever imagined. My husband, all of it is just so much more beautiful because of the way the Lord has pieced it back together again for me. And it doesn't negate the hurt and the loss. It's still there, but to see God's hand and how He's used that. I think when we allow Him to take those pieces, when we give Him those hurts and those losses, and we surrender that to Him and allow Him to use it, He is so faithful to create something so much more beautiful than we could have ever imagined.